we're going to hear a tune now called Lenny's Pennies, which you can hear this contrafact, this line. It's a composition based on the chord changes to Pennies from Heaven in a minor key. You'll hear Jimmy and I play it together, and then solos. great figures in jazz when it comes to playing and teaching. He lived in the suburbs of New York towards the end of his life. He was originally from Chicago. And he was a jazz innovator, both as a player and as a teacher. As a piano player, he's one of the great jazz pianists of all time. He developed his own style of walking bass line playing, among many other things. That's been a great influence on the whole world of jazz piano. Lenny was the first band leader to play free jazz with his group. In 1949, Lenny played 2 tracks, which were the first recorded examples of free jazz. When we say free jazz, we mean there's no chord progressions, it's not based on any tunes. It's a whole group playing spontaneously. And that was the first recorded evidence of people doing that, and that definitely had an effect on free jazz players that came after him. Lenny was one of the first people that put together a system of teaching jazz. Although he taught everybody as an individual, and he didn't teach everybody the same, in all of the same ways, he did have a basic curriculum that he worked with, which was one of the first times that jazz was put together in such a way that it could be taught. And for those of us that were fortunate enough to be with him, I studied with Lenny between 1972 and his death in 78. And he was, we used to go see him every week, and he laid this whole fantastic curriculum on us, which taught us how to integrate our fingers and our feelings. He had so many students, and he did teach all instruments. He taught voice, he taught drums, he taught bass, because he was working on primal concepts of improvisation and how you get the physical mechanism of the body to transmit, as he would say, the deepest feelings of your soul. And that's no easy task. But Lenny figured out a way to do it, although he modified it and made allowances for each individual person. And he was one of the first great jazz educators. Lenny also played with Charlie Parker quite a bit, and attained a certain amount of popularity in the late 40s and 50s as an innovator in the world of jazz piano. And so for all these reasons, and for all of us who knew him and what a fantastic guy and mentor he was, he's become I think he's more or less universally recognized now as one of the great lineages in jazz. And so we had this symposium, which was one of the first times anything like this had been done. And Dave Liebman was in it, and Lee Konitz was supposed to be there with us, but he was ill at that time, so he didn't make it. Mention is Lenny was really the originator, along with Miles and other people, of the cool school of jazz, which was a big movement after bebop that happened in the late 1940s and 50s. So he took what Charlie Parker did and created a whole new thing out of it. The symposium happened in March of 2019, and it was all at Berkeley. And we had 3 beautiful days of workshops and presentations and concerts and discussions all about Lennie Tristano, due to the fact that it was his 100th birthday last year. No, this was the only concert as part of the symposium, and the players were myself on piano, and Jimmy Halperin on sax, Rick McGlaughlin on bass, who's a professor at Berkeley, and Bob Tamagni on drums, who's another professor at Berkeley. Jimmy and I actually grew up together as kids. Our parents were friends, and Jimmy and I both went to see Lenny together when we were kids, in our teens. We both had lessons with Lenny, and that was a lot of fun. It's always preferable, of course, if you have a working group that has a chance to really prepare, but this is a kind of a normal occasion, and sometimes you get real lucky and everybody clicks for some unknown reason, and that happened here. It was It's really click. Our group was like a clique, you could say, in that particular kind of. We were playing a style of playing which came from the Lenny tradition, which was almost totally linear, meaning that there was very little harmony in this particular performance. There was a little bit of piano chording and so on, but the basic style was to emphasize the creation of the melodic lines. And all of the tunes that were on this concert were written by Lenny or Lenny associates. And so we had the tune Lenny's Pennies. So Lenny would take standard tunes and write what you call a contrafact, with, of course, many jazz musicians do, Charlie Parker and Dizzy and all those guys. They would a normal jazz way of composing is to take a standard tune and to write your own invention on top of the chord changes. So in this CD, we did Lenny's Pennies, which was based on Pennies in Minor, a tune called Baby, which was based on Melancholy Baby, a tune called All About You, which was based on How About You, a tune called April, which was based on I'll Remember April, a tune called Subconsciously, which was written by Lee Konitz, based on What Is This Thing Called Love, and a combination tune of Iota Go by Sal Mosca, who was a pianist in the Lenny tradition, and Ablution, which was a tune on All the Things You Are, written by Lenny. So basically, we'd start off playing the melody together. And so the melodies that Lenny wrote were, in my view, the greatest contrafacts, due to their complexity, due to the incredible harmonic and melodic and especially rhythmic nuances and figures that he put in these lines. These lines, like you study for your whole life. It's like something from the Talmud or something to me. So you study these incredible lines. Some prophet came down from the mountain and wrote this incredible amount of material that you can study and learn from for the rest of your life. So what you'll hear is Jimmy and I playing the melodies, these incredible Lenny melodies based on standards. We'll play it with generally no chord accompaniment. And then either Jimmy and I will take a solo with no chord accompaniment. There's sometimes a little chord accompaniment on the piano solo, but none on the sax solo. And after the bass and drum solo, if there is one, then we played a very interesting style called contrapuntal. Contrapuntal improvisation is where you have more than one soloist at the same time creating solos on top of each other, with each other. So this was normal in Dixieland music, but Lenny took it to a new place in some of his music, and that's the first time I heard that. You have two soloists, so the two soloists are playing individually with each other, but at the same time they're able to react to each other in real time. So in almost all the tunes we played here, there's a contrapuntal section where Jimmy and I play together and play lines, and you'll hear that it's separate lines, but also at times I'll hear what Jimmy's doing, he'll pick it up, and it's very exciting. So this, that's the style of playing, which is kind of a Tristano style, where you're emphasizing the linear. And so I think this is a good representation of that basic concept of playing in a group.
Okay.
by the great Berkeley professor and bass player Rick McGlaughlin.